Thank you so much, Kyle. Some of you may feel like you've seen Kyle before. That's because he was on the front page of the Oregonian just this last weekend in a feature article about his work here at the Capitol, along with a colleague of his doing something similar. Really appreciate all that you're doing, really powerful stuff. For people of faith, compassion drives our support for SB 520 and so many of the issues that we care about. And as Reverend Nielsen said at the top of the morning, our hearts yearn for an Oregon with fewer gun deaths and with kids sitting in their classrooms focused on learning, not on a potential lockdown a few minutes away, possibly. So joining us today to speak about gun violence prevention are the leaders of Ballot Measure 114, who will discuss Senate Bill 348 that will implement the ballot measure. So please welcome Liz McCanna, Marilyn Keller, and the Reverend Mark Knutson.
Thank you, Brett, for all the outstanding work, and thank you for the previous presentation a moment ago. Right before the pandemic, about 100 of us spent time with the Lifers group in the penitentiary after going through 8 doors, and every single one of them was part of the hospice team. Powerful stories, thank you. We're going to model a mini Lift Every Voice Oregon press conference. Rather than me speak for 10 minutes, we're all going to take 3. I'm just going to do a minute opening. So, whenever we do a press conference, we want to model as people of faith on a very important issue that we are together. Native American spiritual leaders, Hindu, Muslim, Jew, Christian, other people of faith, and people of just goodwill. We always want to model, whenever we do a press conference, the diversity of who God created us to be. That's ethnicity, human sexuality, gender, all of that, to show that we are about this together. The second thing we always do at a press conference is we thank the press, because our Bishop Lori knows that the press are storytellers, and many of our members are members of the press, and we need to ask them to tell these stories. So we had more earned media than any campaign in years in Oregon, because the press enjoyed coming to the press conferences. They heard a lot. The third thing is one of the most important. If you just stand as you're able for a moment, please. I see the Reverend Lynn Smouse Lopez. I see Cecil Prasad, many who worked on this campaign. This is the most important reason. Turn to your neighbor and say, you are made in the image of God. And then say to somebody else, aren't you beautiful? Oh, okay, we're losing it now. Okay, you can sit back down. I'm going to pass the microphone. But those are key components. We don't want to see anybody suffer from gun violence, and especially our children and youth. So Marilyn Keller, Chief Petitioner, is going to lead us off. Liz McCanna, Chair of our legislative team, is going to go next, and I'll do a little close. Rabbi Kahana wished he could be here. Reverend Dr. Haynes, others, they all send their regards, but let us go for about 10 minutes on this.
My job as the third Chief Petitioner and also as a member of the core team of LEVO, Lift Every Voice Oregon, is as the artistic arm. And we recruited many, many artists and artisans during this campaign. But again, I'd like to ask you to stand because this is an anthem. We named our organization after the James Weldon Johnson anthem. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing a rising sun of a new day. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. Now, I just worked with my senator, Senator Lou Frederick from District 3 in Portland, to come back here on Monday the 29th to open the legislative session. So I'll probably be singing that song, if not another. But this campaign that we ran in 2023, from 2018 through 2023, focused on the hearts and minds and souls of the volunteers, of the people of Oregon, and how strong we are together, and how we have walked through the blood of the slaughtered. And we've come now to this bright moment where we did get ballot measure 114 passed, and we're now facing the Senate Bill 348, now -A, to enact this ballot measure. And we are going to be calling on all of the resources that we called upon in 2022 to get this campaign up and running. We were, of course, faced with some opposition to the ballot measure, to getting the signatures that we needed. We needed to gather at least 112,000 signatures to get this ballot measure on the ballot. And we were facing some high odds and obstacles. Even our allies were a little bit detrimental to us getting this done. But 3 events happened. Uvalde, Buffalo, and Highland Park. And after those events, people came out of the woodwork. We ended up with over 5,000 volunteers gathering signatures across Oregon in every single county and every portion of the state. We gathered 161,000 plus signatures, and we came right here to the Capitol on July 8th and delivered the final batch of signatures to it. It took a lot of praying, it took a lot of work, it took true grit, and we got it done. And we need you to speak on this issue today as you go through the Capitol. 348A must pass. It is the enactment of ballot measure 114, which was voted into being by the people of Oregon.
So I get to talk about the nuts and bolts of what's going on, and I really, when we say we did it, you all did it. I know there are many people here gathered signatures, helped, and we thank everybody. We thank ourselves because we're all in this together. So now we need to get Measure 114. It is law, but it needs some things, some details, something to help implement it, and that's really what Bill 348, and it's A now. I think there will be a B, but 348 must pass. Basically, it's got a long road. It's got to go through the Ways and Means Subcommittee, the full Ways and Means Committee, the Senate, and then the House. But we are told, and we are committed. We talk to everybody we can. We've been down here this week and next week, and we're going to talk to everybody today. Senate Bill 348 must pass. And let me tell you a couple things that it does. There's a long list, and there's a sheet, a handout, and it talks about more things, and it does even more than is covered by the sheet, but something necessary, and I sort of say these are the provisions. This one is for the FBI, and the FBI has said, we won't do the background checks unless you have some legislative act that says these magic words. And we said, hello, a ballot measure becomes law. It is now the law of Oregon, but they still want some magic words that the legislature will pass, and that's in 348. The next one is for everybody. This is it's an addition. Measure 114 said it would be enacted in an equitable and consistent manner, particularly the permitting system. The state police have to do a report, an annual report. We wanted to get in even more specifics, and it's in 348 that they have to, for every county, they have to do the gender and racial statistics for the permits granted, the permits denied, the reasons for denial, and if there are counties or particular sheriffs in any event who are not being equitable and fair, that'll show us, that information will show us, and that's in the bill. There's another one I call the encouragement provision. As you know, there's been some litigation involved with 114, and really to challenge it. One court in a county way out east said it stayed until he gets to rule and has a trial. We're confident that is going to, we're going to move through that. If, regardless of that result, we are confident the Oregon Supreme Court is going to say this is constitutional, because it is, and it's so important. But during this time, we don't want anybody, including the counties and the local police, to do nothing, and they aren't. The state police and the counties have been moving forward. I just heard a sheriff someplace said, we've already hired our permit agent, and they're going to be able, they can issue permits. We want them to keep building. And this law says there's nothing in this law or at any time that should keep you from moving forward. So it's an encouragement provision for them, and that's important. And the last thing, there are a group of expediting, I call them expediting provisions. If there is a challenge to 348, yeah, there will be a challenge, because but it provides some interesting provisions. They're perfectly legal. It says all of those lawsuits need to be filed in Marion County, and that's not just because we know some judges in Marion County. I mean, they're good judges. There are more judges. There's only one county or judge out in the county, Harney County, I guess I'll name it, that is ruling and has stayed the provision. But Marion County is the logical place. They deal with a lot of statewide initiatives. They're great, so it makes sense to have it there. There's also in this a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. So that's going to allow efficient resolution of any concerns. And there's an emergency clause. Means it goes in effect immediately upon acting. This is an emergency. It's really important. We want you to go to talk to all of the legislators, even if you're doing some other bill, if you can happen to mention, and make sure you push 348 through as quickly as possible. They should act as if there are lives at stake, because there are. Thank you.
So 348, we want to pass fully with no watering down of Measure 114, which the Oregonians passed. And you can look county by county, and even the counties that voted against, there's still 40,000 people voted for. So it's across the state. So let me close, so Britt, we can stay on time. 25th remembrance. Well, before I say this, all those on the steering committee that are here, rise up, please, please. I see others here that, Lynn, Reverend Smouse Lopez, peace, just rise up from, okay. Thank you. I mean, many, many people have worked on this and met every week for the last 5 years. Many young people in high schools who could not be here today, but worked on it. And so we wanted to lift up our young people because they were at the core of this. So when the governor signs the bill, we're not going to be up alongside the governor. We want teenagers surrounding that governor, our governor, at that moment. So let me close with this. 25 years since Thurston, and back after Thurston High School on May 21st, we said, how long? After Uvalde and Buffalo, we said, how long? After Parkland, we said, how long, oh Lord, must this go on? After Allen, Texas this past week, how long will we sit silent in this nation and allow this awful scourge of gun violence to continue? The only nation on the earth where the #1 cause of death for children and youth is gun violence in this country. How long, we cry out. But we say also, how long? And we hear God say, not long. Because 5,000 volunteers around this state got 114 on the ballot. How long? God says not long. Because people of faith are saying this is a core issue to us. When our neighbors are bleeding and dying, we cannot be silent. How long? We say, God says not long. Because 5-year-olds and 95-year-olds got signatures, and they said this is how democracy looks. We heard our teenagers chant. They learned that democracy can be lived by people of goodwill, people of faith and just goodwill, to make a difference for the sake of the common good. How long? We say, God says not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. How long? We say not long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because 200 of us are going to the legislature right now. And we're going to say, let's get 348 done, but before you adjourn, let's ban assault weapons in this state too, and help lead the nation, because I am convinced convinced that Washington was able to act because Oregon voters were the only voters in the country that voted for the most comprehensive gun legislation back in November. I'm convinced that our legislature has House Bill 2005, encourage that as well, would not have been in the legislature had not people risen up and voted to give courage to people across this nation, say, no more, how longs, but we can say not long. We're on the cusp of changing what this nation is. No retirement, no minimum age. Everybody keep at it, and God bless each of you. Thank you.